The dark side of Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. It promotes itself as a desert paradise.
Preparing for the big flying kangaroo to land here in Dubai is unreal. I can't wait to see it out there.
Their minds were elsewhere, applying lipstick, counting cash.
But don't be deceived by the apparent tolerance of Western ways.
Muslim traditions mixed with capitalism on steroids, like child camel jockeys and overcrowded, inhumane labor camps like this one.
Sex outside marriage, holding hands, even kissing someone on the cheek can be enough to have you arrested.
Because fall foul of Sharia law and you're in a whole world of trouble. Just like Australian Alicia Ghali, jailed because she was raped.
I met a 19-year-old woman who was trafficked to Dubai for sex, at times serving more than 30 clients per day against her will. Chinese are the cheapest, around $150. Then Africans and Eastern Europeans. Middle Eastern women fetch the highest amount, up to $1,000 per night.
Hey guys, Lavender here, and today I'm doing the pure evil files of the United Arab Emirates and Dubai, a deep dive into this anti-capitalism, political topic. I wanted to talk about this topic because I remember seeing I don't remember what type of YouTube video it was, but it was talking about a woman going to Dubai and her getting gang raped, and she was arrested, and they were blaming the victim and all this, so I wanted to do a talk about Dubai. And another reason I wanted to do this is because a lot of the models that, Instagram models and stuff, they go to Dubai, but they're escorts, and I wanted to talk about this and talk about the evilness of this country. So let's get started into this video, but before we get started, these are my YouTube videos on the screen right now that are related to this topic if you want to check them out. So let's get started into this anti-capitalism deep dive political video. So yeah. Most people know Dubai for its massive skyscrapers and luxurious, bougie, vacation capitalist lifestyles. Dubai, the jewel of the Arab world, the UAE is one of the 10 richest countries in the world with a GDP of more than $430 billion a year. You see a lot of Instagram influencers and other Instagram influencers. One such example is Jalen Ojeda go there for their luxury vacation trips. And a known and notorious liar and anti-DPRK, anti-North Korea hypocrite fraud, Yeonmi Park. She has visited there on her slave tour, even though she's the one who claims, that she doesn't support slavery and all this. But the truth about the matter is Dubai is built on imported slave labor, something she claims to be against. She sold out North Korea, aka the DPRK, so she can live a rich, bougie, pro-capitalism lifestyle aesthetic. For months, the BBC and Addison hung out around the glittering, insane towers springing up in Dubai, trying to infiltrate the community of workers who are putting them up. What he found when he finally got there was that the jewel of the Arab world is almost entirely built off the backs of imported slave labor. Dubai is one of the most well-known centers of modern-day capitalism, slavery, and human trafficking. Beneath the glittering facade of bougie, rich, luxury capitalism lifestyle paradise aesthetic, in the desert lurks a cruel and lethal system of recruitment, transportation, transfer, kidnapping, and defrauding of human beings, mostly women, by the means of threat of force, or the actual use of force, as well as other types of coercion and intimidation. The purpose of the system is exploitation for the purpose of prostitution, other types of sexual exploitation, forced labor, or employment and conditions of slavery. When it comes to exploitation of work labor, the workers who are largely from Southeast Asia are paid well below prices charged in the city's expensive boutiques and glamorous hotels. The migrant workers are not only at greater risk of exploitation, but are often housed in filthy housing and conditions with little downtime. In short, they are the hidden slaves of this rich city. According to the Human Rights Watch, foreigners make up 88.5% of the United Arab Emirates citizens, with low-paid migrant workers being subjected to abuses about to forced labor. While exact figures are not known and are unknown, it is estimated that there are at least 3 million of those workers in the UAE alone. Domestic workers are particularly vulnerable to abuse, and so are maids, because they don't have the minimal protection afforded by the UAE labor law. The human rights group said that Kafia sponsorship system tied migrants to their employers who acted as their sponsors meant workers were at a greater risk of exploitation because they could revoke sponsorship at will, making them liable to deportation. It is estimated that around 150,000 migrant and female workers are employed under this scheme. The wealth of this country is funded by contract workers from some of the world's poorest countries, including Indonesia, India, Philippines, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. Not only do they have to live in dreadful, horrible housing conditions, but the agreed-upon wages are almost never honored, with the average construction worker receiving just $175 a month, compared to the per capita income of $2,100 a month, and wages often being withheld for months on end to ensure the worker doesn't quit. The migrant worker quickly realizes that it will be years before he can even pay off the mounting debts to his recruiters. Never mind begin sending money home to his family or back home or whatever. Without money or passports, these foreign workers have no way of returning home to their families and are forced to continue working in dangerous conditions, often without proper safety equipment in extreme desert heat. What does all this have to do with tourism in Dubai? A lot, actually. Instagram and other social media influencers need to stop encouraging and promoting the glamorization of Dubai's vacation trips there and this rich capitalism luxury lifestyle. I've already talked about how the problematic aesthetic, the pro-capitalism bougie aesthetic is, and how, the whole entire aesthetic is funded by, exploiting the working class. Post content that makes the countries look like paradises where you can get rich. This is harmful to society because it's false advertising. Of course, with Dubai receiving 16 million tourists a year, it's going to take a lot more than just one person to change that. But it's a start. I'm doing my part showcasing the atrocities of capitalism and what's going on there, and how the victims of capitalism are suffering immensely because capitalism is pure misery that puts profits over the lives of animals, people, and Mother Earth herself. When it comes to sex trafficking, the promise of good jobs and better wages baits many women around the world in impoverished countries into investing and traveling to the Middle East to work. Because some get lucky in return with money, many Ugandans pay for job replacements in the Middle East and end up being trafficked as slaves and sex workers in Dubai. These places also have a history of treating black people horribly, aka racism. African women being trafficked in the UAE are forced into debt and subjected to threats and violence. They insure them in crushing debts, often totaling around $10,000 to $15,000, huge sums of money for women from poor families, and in many cases they exploit traditional African spiritual beliefs to make victims feel they have no choice but to do what the traffickers tell them to do. Christina Jacob was a ringleader in a criminal network that lured African women to Dubai and forced them into prostitution in brothels, backstreets, bars, hotels, and dance clubs. According to 6 Nigerian government anti-trafficking officials, a British human rights activist who has tracked her operation, and 5 women who said they were trafficked and exploited by her. 3 of the women said in interviews that Gold told them if they didn't do as they were told, they'd be killed and their bodies would be dumped in the middle of the desert. Those who didn't make enough money for her were taken to a room in an apartment in Dubai, where Gold's brother starved them, flogged them, and shoved hot chili paste into their private parts. According to 3 anti-trafficking officials, 5 women who provided detailed accounts and interviews in court statements and documents. Emirate authorities do little to protect these women because they are women. A hierarchy based on skin color and skin tone plays an important role in the UAE sex industry. According to interviews with trafficked women in these areas and visits to spots where prostitutes congregate in the UAE, lighter-skinned women from Europe are generally trafficked into higher-end venues serving wealthier customers. Darker-skinned women are often steered to the alleys and street corners providing sex to low-income migrant workers from South Asia and Africa. One Nigerian woman described being taken by a trafficker to the open-air brothel in the desert. After After she broke free of the trafficker, the woman said she slept in the streets and begged for food. She nearly lost her mind, she said, before a nurse from Nigeria rescued her and helped her get home. In May 22 email to Wizard Lee, the Nigerian Anti-Trafficking Agency's director, Thomas wrote that Gold was flaunting her wealth built on the backs of young women she traffics to Dubai. Little is known about Gold's background. In a written statement to the Nigerian court, Gold said she traveled to Dubai in 2009 and after that began shuttling back and forth, buying gold shoes and handbags in the UAE and selling them in Nigeria. According to victim statements to the court and interviews, Gold and her associates targeted Nigerian women who were desperate for work and new lives, promising them jobs in hair salons, restaurants, and other retail businesses in Dubai. Gold's associates helped them obtain Nigerian passports and tourist visas to travel to the UAE. The three women said Gold also controlled them by confiscating their passports. Then they said she created fake passports that appeared authentic enough to get them through routine police stops or past front hotel desks at hotels. Hotels and sex trafficking go hand in hand. The hotels will turn a blind eye to sex trafficking so they can just make more capitals and profits. But not enough of them get out of the country. A 25-year-old Ugandan said after she fled the brothel in the Diala district of Dubai where she was forced to work, she headed to the nearest police station to report the crime. She said a police officer took her back to the brothel and negotiated with the trafficker to return her passport to her. The officer left without doing anything else, and the trafficker again took back the passport once again. Women are treated terrible in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates, even the visitors. Alicia Gelly is an Australian woman who was jailed for 8 months in the United Arab Emirates in 2008 after being gang raped. She was accused of having an illicit sexual relationship under UAE law, aka Islamic Sharia law. Under Islamic law, in absence of physical evidence, rape can only be proven if the rapist confesses or if there are 4 male witnesses. After reporting to the police about being date raped and drugged and raped by 3 co-workers, she was gaslighted and victim blamed. Her case raised public outrage and attention and criticism of Dubai as a whole. Alicia Galley had been working as a beauty salon manager at a beach resort. She spent an evening drinking with 3 co-workers one night in June 2008 when Alicia saw her room flooded due to a backup drain. She went to the hotel bar along with her laptop to have a drink. She said that a fellow employee at the hotel refilled her glass with ice from an ice bucket. Using a pair of tongs, she claimed that when she woke up the next day, she was naked with broken ribs and massive bruising, but admitted she had no memory of the night before because she was drugged that night. Maintenance employees of the hotel later found a man's shirt and a plastic bag were used to block the drain, perhaps an ploy to force her to go to the hotel bar. Her co-workers denied under oath that there was any assault that took place and testified in court that the victim consented to having sex with them. They alleged that her injuries were caused by her falling while dancing on a table. She was not warned that unproven rape complaints could lead to sex outside of marriage charges under the local law. I have no idea why women still go on vacations to Saudi Arabia or Dubai or any of these places. They treat women like property. In Saudi Arabia, women can't even drive a car. They have to go everywhere covered up and only showing their eyes, and they have to have a family member who's a man escort them places. They can't go anywhere by themselves. She and the accused men were arrested and all were sentenced to imprisonment for a period of 12 months for having a sexual relationship outside of marriage. She was released from prison after 8 months on March 2009. The victim had sued her employers at the hotel for breaching its workplace obligations by failing to have a system in place to protect their workers against assault. She also later sued the Australian government, arguing that they had failed to give her proper advice or a full warning about what could happen visiting that country or getting a job there. The unforeseen events in Alicia's life in 2008 continued to affect her life. Reportedly, she was later diagnosed with severe post-traumatic stress disorder, unable to work, and even had to borrow money from family members and friends to pay for her hospital and counseling. When it comes to Instagram and other social media influencers, have you ever looked at an Instagram model's page or other huge models' pages and wondered how she affords to travel the world constantly without seeming to have a job or any actual modeling work lined out? Have you ever wondered how these girls are able to spend their time in private jets and setting themselves on super yachts or going on expensive luxury shopping sprees without ever taking on paid promotions? Have you ever wondered why these girls' bios there's often an email address for booking inquirers, despite the fact that these people are not actual influencers or models? These girls are not travel influencers or bloggers. They stay in fancy hotels, but they are not being paid to promote them. That drop-dead gorgeous, beautiful woman with 100K plus followers on Instagram or other social medias drinking cocktails and drinking champagne in Dubai, there is a very high possibility that she is a high-end escort. It is also of no great surprise to Dubai has become known as the global sex tourism hub. For decades, Dubai has a reputation for flying out sex workers and women for decades once again. In fact, prostitution has turned Dubai into the go-to destination for sex tourism in the Gulf. So in a nutshell, Dubai Porta Potty is a woman an Instagram model who gets flown out to Dubai by a rich Emirate guy who pays them to do horrible, horrible things, vile things you would only see on a dark web video. These men browse Instagram for the hottest girl you can find and then invite her to Dubai for a 30,000 USD paid holiday that she can post about to all her adoring followers. A few years ago, a website named Tag the Sponsor, which hasn't been updated since 2019, decided to expose Instagram models' lives, and it didn't take long for it to be insinuated that with screenshots of these girls agreeing to do all sorts of lucrative acts for cash. Tag the Sponsor featured images and videos of young women agreeing to do everything from pleasure camels, aka bestiality, to let men Cleveland steamer on them, to abuse 11-year-old boys who need to become men. And now these screenshots are mostly fakes in the sense that the person asking these girls to do these things and go to Dubai is usually a troll. However, the girls are real, and in their minds they are truly agreeing to do these things. In addition to doing whatever humiliating acts the man wants her to do, she will make sure to get a few snaps of herself on his yacht or in his jet and post the pictures on Instagram to flex her lavish lifestyle. These pictures are a marketing ploy. The girls will list their locations as London/Dubai or US/Dubai, include an email address for booking inquirers, and feature countless images of themselves living it up in Dubai. Once you know the signs, it's very easy to spot the girl who's involved, especially when you take a peek at who they're actually following on Instagram and other social media sites, and the people who comment on their photos. It's usually wealthy, rich men from the Middle East. This woman remained anonymous and shared her story with Atlanta Celebrity News, who later deleted the article in question. This is what she had to say. She boasted about having to do bestiality with a German Shepherd dog in front of Saudi royalty, and then was bragging about committing a pedophile act against underage boys. She was quoted in saying, "So all of you ladies that are going to bash me, I'm 24 years old and have $1 million liquid in my bank account. I'm now retired and can have normal sex with whoever I want." Some of these women are committing horrendous crimes for the sake of a trip to Dubai or a luxury vacation, capitalism bougie lifestyle. And if the men were agreeing to do those things, we wouldn't be laughing and joking. In every country, sex workers are at a much higher risk of violence, rape, and murder than people in other professions. I am not exaggerating when I say that these women are putting their lives on the line for a few $1,000, a pro-capitalism bougie aesthetic lifestyle, and some nice designer handbags. This woman, who's bragging about $1 million in her bank and retiring early, says that anybody bashing and hating on her is just jealous of her lifestyle.